Okay, for number 6, it's still the same. Well, it's a little different. Okay, so for number 6, for what value of c will the graphs of y equals 4x squared minus 24x plus c and y equals 4x minus 3 squared plus minus 6 be the same? Okay, so again, we're looking for something that's the same, but I don't know if you notice, we're only looking for the value of c, which is located where? So they gave you this whole equation, and the only thing missing is that number, right? So they're trying to say, if we put in this number, if we put in A, will they be the same? If we put in B, will they be the same? If we put in C. So for this one, if you're going to check it in the calculator to make sure they're the same, okay, you're going to want to match it. So, for example, let's say we're trying A. In the calculator, we're going to type in the equation, but instead of putting the C, we're actually going to put one of the answer choices. So, for example, if we were trying A, let's try A, 42. All right, let's close these out. Okay, we're going to put y equals 4x squared minus 24x plus, and instead of putting the c there, right, we're going to substitute a what? A 42. Okay, boom. Not boom. I had to zoom out, right, notice. I do get a graph, so it gives me something. And I want to know when will it be the same to this. So I'm going to put this one in. Y equals 4 parentheses x minus 3 parentheses squared minus 6. Okay. So, when I put in 42 and I have both equations in, are these two graphs the same? No. So number 42 is not it. Okay. And then real quick, if you're trying B, just make sure you put in a negative 18, right? If you're trying C, and see if they match. So not that it was any harder, they just wanted to know, instead of, they gave you most of the equation, they just left out one number, and so that was the number you're trying to figure out. But still, guys, all the same. Alright, so number 7 is about one of the only ones where you do kind of know what you're doing by hand. In which step below does a mistake first appear in the simplifying the expression? So remember, if we're doing this by hand, right, I see a bunch of pluses and minuses, right? So your mind should be thinking, how do I do this by hand? Okay. First thing is we always like to get rid of what? Parentheses, right? So that's the first thing. Then the second thing is I see pluses and minuses. You're like, oh, combine like terms, right? So if someone's doing this by hand, they distribute and then combine like terms, which I'm going to abbreviate like this, okay? So if you notice, let's just see step 1. Whoever did this, if you notice, they only got rid of the first set of parentheses. All right. How do you get rid of them? You distribute to everybody, right? Not the plus sign. Sorry, that should have gone to the 8. So negative 10c, and oh my god, and then to this 8, right? So that's the only one they got rid of. So let's just see, did they distribute correctly? Remember, when you distribute, you multiply. Well, what is 0.5 times negative 10c? So first of all, 0.5 times negative 10 is what? 0.5 times negative 10 is negative 5. So this would give us negative 5. And don't forget there's a c, so they did that part right. Check. And then 0.5 times 8. 0.5 times 8 is 4. So that would have given us 4. Did they do that part right? Yes. So check. They distributed correctly the first part. Okay, notice they still left the second set and the third set the same. So in step 2, what they did is now all they did was distribute here. Okay, so did they do this part correctly? 2 times c would have given them what? 2c, that's correct. 2 times the negative 5, is that negative 10? Yeah, so they did that part correct. And notice they didn't distributing thing here. So that's correct. That checks out. They distributed the second parentheses correctly. So step 3 looks like they got rid of the last parentheses, so they distributed here. So let's see if they did that part right. Let's do this in another color, I guess. So here, I got 12 times c, right? You put the number and the variable together, that gives us 12c. But what is 12 times negative 2? Remember, that's a negative. 12 times negative 2, is that a positive 24? No, they should have got negative. So 12 times negative 2 is negative 24. So they forgot this should have been a negative. So this is where they made their first mistake. So I did go on ahead and give you that answer, okay? For number 8, you do not need me. Again, this is equivalent. So you type this in, and if they're equal, right, they're going to be the same. So all you got to do, type in your answer choices. I'm not even going to do that. You do not need me for that. This one is a little bit different. We are going to do this one by hand, but this was the one that y'all did really well on. We did this today, which is Tuesday, so we did this yesterday, I guess. Which expression is a factor of 25x squared minus 4? Okay, so I don't know if you remember or recognize this, but you should. Okay, we're factoring, meaning you're trying to tell me what 2 things we multiplied to get this, right? So there's going to be 2 things we multiplied. And I don't know if you recognize this, but this is called a what? I see 2 terms. I see a minus sign in the middle. I see a perfect square here and a perfect square here. We call that a difference of squares, right? It is. So remember how you break it up. I'll get you started. We know that both signs are going to be different, right? What's the square root of 25? What times what gives us 25, right? So y'all know that's 5 times 5. I have x squared. What's the square root of that? How do I break that up? An x here and an x here. Okay, so I'm going to leave the blank. What goes here? What's the square root of 4? So y'all break that up. Tell me the answer. And then this problem is only looking for a factor, meaning just one. So look at your answer choices and see. It's either going to have this one or this one, so you'll match that part. So you're going to go ahead, fill in the rest of it, okay? Because they're only looking for one, there's not really a way that we're doing on the calculator just yet. So this one, it should be still fresh on your mind, so you should know how to do that. Number 10, they straight up tell you, rewrite this binomial as a difference of squares. So this one, they're telling you, even though you should have still recognized it, so you know for sure. So I'm only going to set you up. You know both signs have to be different, right? What's the square root of 100? That goes there. And then how do you break up a squared? Okay, so this one you should know. If they give you both factors, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, you could still check it in the calculator, right? If they're the same, it'd be the right answer, but this should be fresh on your mind. Most of y'all should know. Okay? Number 11, I'll remind you how to do it by hand and then show you the calculator again, because this is equivalent. Again, equal, same, matching, all of that, okay? For those of you doing it by hand, first of all, recognize what are we doing? What is this? It is division. Remember how to divide? Look at how many terms. So first of all, I got how many terms at the bottom? That's just 1. When there's only 1, how do we do it? We separate it. So I have my 80m squared minus 20m, and all of it, you take each one and you separate it. That's over 20m. That's over negative 20m. Okay, so if you're doing it by hand, this is how you do it. And then you just go coefficient by coefficient, variable by variable, okay? If you're not doing it by hand, I should not need to tell you how to do this. This is equivalent, meaning they're going to be the same. So you would just put this into Desmos. The only reason I'm going to set you up is because, again, they didn't use, there's one variable. So we're not going to use that one variable. What variable do we use? We're going to use x. So I'm going to type it in. So, 80x squared. If you put the division sign first, it allows you to type top and bottom. minus 20x. That's the top. Go to the bottom. Negative 20x. So, oops, I forgot that 20. So notice it gave me a graph, a line. So all you're looking for is you would type in your answer choices and see which one's correct. So if I typed in 4n plus 1, I'll try C. 4x plus 1. Are those equal? Are those the same? No, so that didn't work. So that's all you would do for that one if you're doing it by the calculator. This one again, number 12 is similar to number 11. If the length of a rectangle is negative 2r, okay, and the area of the rectangle is 24r squared minus 18r, what is the width? So this one, guys, you need to know. Again, we know that area is equal to length times width, right? I got this whole little rectangle. I know that the length is negative 2r. Oops. And I know the whole area together would be 24r squared minus 18r. And remember, what is area? Area is length times width. So the only thing I don't know is the width. So how do I find that missing piece? Y'all need to know when you know the area and you're just missing one piece. All we have to do is divide. So I would take 24r squared minus 18r over negative 2r. For those of you doing it by hand, how many terms do you have? Just one. So if it's just one, you can break it up. 24r squared over negative 2r. And then negative 18r over negative 2r. Okay, so you could do it by hand that way. And if you're doing it by calculator, there's no difference. You know you're dividing, so you'd plug this in to Desmos. You're not using R, you're using what letter? In Desmos, you're going to put in an X. And then again, you're just matching. So you would put in 24x squared minus 18x. Oh, you know what? I forgot to put my fraction first. So let me erase all this. Put the fraction first. 24x squared minus 18x. Oops. And the bottom is negative 2x. So again, it gives you a line. So if you get the right answer, you just check A, B, C, or D. And if it's the right answer, they will give you a matching graph. Okay, so very similar to number 11. So if you have any questions, just ask me. These are the 12 questions you see on your quiz. Most of it can be done in the calculator except the ones that I told you. So I'll check your papers, make sure that you completed the work, because again, I didn't give you any answers. So finish that up, and good luck.